Hi, Mitch Argon with CalNeva Realty. I'm going to take you through the greater Reno Tahoe real estate market in just a few moments for December of 2024. Okay, let's get started like we have in months prior with median price. As you can see, the markets are, for the most part, slightly up. You can see a little bit of variance there, but I'd probably say on average we're up in single digits from 1 year ago. I'll show you a chart in just a moment here that shows the last couple of years of median price. You can get a little better perspective on what's going on there. So this chart goes back 2 years, and you'll notice that if I take Reno, for example, which is the blue line across here as a bellwether market and just one to focus on, last month we were at $629,000 as a median price. A year ago, November, $581,000, and 2 years ago, November, was $567,000. So you see this upward trend for the last 2 years. But what this chart doesn't show is the peak that we had most recently, which was about the second quarter, maybe May or June of 2022, right about the time interest rates started to rise and started to put some downward pressure on pricing for the short term. And so if I were to go back another 5 or 6 months, that second quarter of 2022 for Reno was about 635, which would have been right about in here, and right about consistent with where we are right now at 629. So even though these prices are showing an appreciation for 1 year and 2 years, they're really about at par with where the markets were in the second quarter of 2022. So I want to share that with you so you can keep that into perspective as you're looking at these numbers. Talk a bit about housing affordability. This moves around every month. This is probably not going to improve dramatically until we see two things happen in a significant way. One is more supply, meaning more listings on the market, whether it be new construction or just more homes being sold, because people don't feel locked in with their rates, and lower interest rates. Of course, the lower interest rates will put some upward pressure on pricing as well on the median price. But that's where we are. $3,274 is the monthly payment for a median price home in Reno for last month, which we just talked about, with 20% down, Class A borrower for credit and so forth with an 80% loan. So still a bit of a challenge for many, many folks. Okay, we talked on median price. Let's now take a moment and talk about homes sold. You can see here, for the most part, we're up as well. Much bigger numbers being up than we have on the median price. And I'm going to share some of this information with you in just a moment to give you some perspective as to the home sales being up, because they are up from last year. And the month supply of inventory, which we'll talk on a little bit more from a historical point of view, but you can see that we're still down here on this column, December of 2024, in the 2s and 3s. Carson Valley is at 3.6. Tahoe, which is always a little bit of a different market, at 5.6. For the most part, all these markets are still in seller market territory, so sellers still have an advantage over a buyer in the market, if you will. Not as much as they had before. Inventory has come up somewhat, but still has the advantage. So I thought, for historical perspective, we talked about the number of homes being sold as being up. And so this chart goes back over 20 years. You can see we're starting at 2022. And if you look at the Reno market, again, just as a bellwether, because it's got a bigger curve here, which is easy to see, this blue one. In 2023, the number of homes sold was just under 3,000. We're probably going to beat that by 100 or 200 homes this year. So we're up a little bit compared to last year. That's this number here. But if you look at this from recent historical perspectives, you can see if I follow this line back to the last time we were at about 3,000 homes sold, we went through this in 2006 on the way down, coming through a trough, and then again in 2008, 2009 on the way back up. This was a very, very challenging real estate market during this time. This was the Great Recession that we went through this big dip. So even though we're seeing an increase in home sales, we are still very, very low compared to the most recent years back up in here, where we're up over 4,500 homes being sold. And we're more comparable in sales volume to what we saw during the Great Recession back here in this 2007, 2008, 2009 period. Just something to keep in mind. Inventory, we are seeing inventory rise. You can see here in these numbers, homes are staying on the market a little bit longer, so the markets have softened just a bit, especially if the homes are not priced right. But again, if you look at this over the last couple of years, we're up here right now with inventory. A year ago, we were down here. But just as recent as 2 years ago, you can see we're up quite a bit higher. So now at 644, a year ago at 469, which is quite low, and then 2 years ago, 718, higher than what we are right now. So these markets are moving around a little bit. I think it's important to look not just at the last month or the last year, but where we've been in recent history, or in some cases going back, like I shared with you earlier, more than a decade, to put some of this in perspective. Month supply of inventory, like I touched on earlier, is still below the 4 to 6 month range. This does not include the Tahoe market, which would be back up in here in the 5.6 range. We just looked at that. Again, these numbers basically indicate that we're in a seller's market statistically, and even though it's softened a bit, we're still in seller market territory. I don't have a chart to share with you here, but by historical standards, if I were to take these numbers back into that 2006, 7, 8, 9 window, this chart would not support those numbers, because these numbers for just about every market in our region were in the mid-teens. Yeah, 15, 16, 17, maybe 18 months supply of inventory. That was a very, very, very strong buyer's market, because nobody wanted to buy, and there were so many distressed homes being sold that they were just adding to the inventory in the market. Okay, thanks for watching this month. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll look forward to sharing more of this with you next year as we go forward. If you want to see the full video, down below this video here, there's a link which will take you to the full report. I pulled a few charts out of that report for this video, but that just gives you some sense of the depth of information that's on the full report. If you need any help with anything regarding real estate and the market, please reach out to any one of our agents from our Reno or our Minden office, or reply back to the video, and we'd be happy to help you further. Until then, have a great day. Thank you.